Actually, it is quite surprising for me that Muslims feel a sense of identity crisis. For us, there should be absolutely no crisis of identity at all, because we should be secure in our faith. I mean, there's a very beautiful hadith of the Prophet which says, trust in Allah, tie your camel, right? We have to trust in Allah first, then tie the camel, in that sense. The trust in Allah bit is the identity bit, right, in a sense. But I think you're asking a more broader question, and I would say that the best way to do that is to look at your own tradition. The tradition, culture and civilization of Islam are absolutely fantastically rich, right? This should be source of for us, source of inspiration, but also a source of identity for us in a sense. But I will also say that we shouldn't really be too concerned about displaying our identity. We should internalize it and live with it without actually making a issue out of it in a sense. And we should also accept the fact that there's more than one way to be a Muslim. If the Quran is a revealed text that we believe it to be eternal, then by definition it can be interpreted in different ways in different times, and therefore there be different ways of being Muslim. So we need to accept the differences within the Muslim community and yet be secure in our faith. That's what should give us a sense of identity. Well, I mean, it just shows how powerless and helpless we are. I mean, it's the first genocide in history that was live streamed. Yet, most of the Muslim countries were helpless, right? It shows I think from now on, it's basically a definition of our neda. We cannot sink deeper than this, right? From here on, we can only go up in one way or the other, right? And we have realized that we have to trust ourselves. We cannot trust so-called allies, right? At the end of the day, the defense of the Ummah is our responsibility. And we have shamefully neglected that responsibility in the case of Gaza. So basically, apart from one or two countries like Malaysia and maybe Pakistan, I would say that the most Muslim countries have been morally deficient in actually kind of defending what's going on in Gaza. I mean, I take my hat off to South Africa more than many Muslim countries who actually led the first kind of human rights day against Israel. But the lesson for us is that we have to rely on ourselves. We cannot rely on others. Well, the Western media has basically shown us its real face, which is a very Islamophobic face. If you really want to know what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Israel, what's going on in Palestine, then you have to watch either TRT or Al Jazeera. You can't trust the BBC. The BBC has turned out to be one of the most biased newscasters in the world. You can't trust CNN, Fox News, New York Times, Washington Post, London Times, Telegraph, whatever. I mean, they've all shown their real face, that they are essentially Zionists, one way or the other. And in their position, morality has no place. It is an ideological position. They will defend Israel to the hilt. Nothing else matters. Just the defense of Israel, no matter what Israel does, no matter how many heinous crimes it commits. At the end of the day, the Western media has supported and in kind of hidden the truth. So in that sense, I would say the Western media has been complicit in genocide, and they should be brought to court. My advice to young Muslims is have confidence. You are the future. You should have a sense of responsibility that you are going to shape the future of the Ummah. But there are also lots of opportunities, lots of challenges. Be aware of the Quran says what's in front of you and what's behind you. In other words, you be aware of your history and be aware of what can unfold over the horizon in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So have a future consciousness, learn futures literacy, so you can understand how the trends are moving, what's happening in terms of emerging issues, what potential scenarios lie ahead. but also read our history and have confidence in your faith, and ultimately trust in Allah, but do your homework. I would say that there is no such thing as a fundamental virtue, but there is a network or a web of virtues that we ought to have in a sense. So the reason I am saying is this, that context sometimes changes goodness. So what is good today may not necessarily be good tomorrow. So let me give an example. Take a freshwater lake. A freshwater lake provides water for the town, provides water for the animals, for the birds. It's a very good thing. Leave it for 100 years, come back, now it's not a good thing because the water has been polluted. You can't supply the water to the community. The birds cannot drink that water. The animals shun the water because it's been left unattended. So what may be good today may not be good in the context of tomorrow in that sense. So we need lots of virtues. There are certain Quranic virtues like humility, forgiveness. Reading, for example, is a virtue. What is the first word that the Prophet hears of the revelation? Read. And he doesn't say read just the Quran, right? It's a very general instruction on read. And the Prophet says, what shall I read? And the verse goes on to say, read in the name of God. So we have to read, and we have, in a sense, reading has to be cultivated as a virtue. But we should be just to ourselves and just to others. We should embrace diversity. We should accept there are other ways to be human, there are other ways to be Muslim. We should acknowledge that, but we should also hold on to our own values and our own perceptions and our own understanding of what Islam is.